What do the Supreme Court Justices of the United States, Simon Cowell, and those mean girls from high school all have in common? They are all judges who will scrutinize you mercilessly, breaking down everything that you do and passing down judgments that will make or break you. Knowing what a judge is looking for can be a bit challenging. Fortunately for speech competitors, Toastmasters International has a little document that can help you with that. A lot of contestants underestimate it, but just like the rule book, it is crucial to your contest success. My name is Beverly, and we are going over the Toastmasters speech contest judging criteria. Let's talk about it. Disclaimer. This video will explain the judging criteria of the Toastmasters International Speech Contest. While it will cover basic knowledge available to all Toastmasters, it will also cover my personal views and thoughts. My interpretations and opinions expressed in this video are just that. They should not be construed as the only possible way to think about the judging criteria. As always, you are encouraged to read the document for yourself and make your own judgments. With that out of the way, let's get into the video. Firstly, why is it important to know the judging criteria for the International Speech Contest? It's really simple, because if your speech is going to be judged based on a checklist, then it's probably good to know what that checklist entails, right? In addition, you can use the judging criteria to make sure that you are meeting the minimum requirements of the speech contest as you craft your speech. Now, if your intent is just to throw caution to the wind and give any speech that you want without any consideration for your audience or what value you're going to give to that audience, then by all means go ahead. You are free to do as you wish. I am not your father. But I'm pretty sure you're not going to get far. So what is the list of judging criteria, and what does each criteria really measure? There are basically three pillars to the International Speech Contest judging criteria. You have content, you have delivery, and you have language. The content pillar includes speech development, speech effectiveness, and speech value. Speech development measures how well your speech was put together. Did you have a clear opening, body, and conclusion? Did you tell a story that makes sense? Did you have examples that fit with your theme? And did you transition between your points seamlessly? If you follow the basic speech structure principles taught by Toastmasters International, then you should not have a problem getting a decent score in this category. The speech effectiveness category is going to measure how well your speech was received by the audience. Now, this criteria is going to vary across different judges because you're going to be dealing with some level of subjectivity. Some judges may think that the audience reactions are what's going to drive the effectiveness of the speech, whereas you have some judges who will think that their own personal reactions will be what drives the effectiveness of the speech. At the end of the day, though, judges are asked to consider one question when it comes to the effectiveness of a speech. Did I understand the purpose of the speaker? The speech value criteria is exactly what it sounds like. It is judging the value that you are giving to the audience, or the perceived value that you are giving to the audience based off of the judge's interpretations. Are you telling us a meaningful lesson that you have learned that we can apply to our own lives? Or are you just telling a funny story for the sake of telling a funny story because you think it's funny and not really providing me any value that's going to help me grow or think differently than I already do? Now, that's not to say that you cannot use a humorous take on your speech. After all, that's exactly what I did in mine. But at the end of the day, you should still be able to provide a meaningful message or a meaningful lesson for the audience to take away. If you do that, then you're going to have a really good chance of scoring high in this category. Something else to remember for speech value is that not only should your message be meaningful, but it should also be original. Originality is a key point in the judging criteria. If you're a person who's talking about following your dreams or about the kid that threw the sand dollar into the ocean, then you're not going to score very well in the originality standpoint. Now, keep in mind, this is something that I learned from experience because this is exactly what I did in 2012. Well, I didn't talk about the sand dollar story because I didn't know it at the time, but I did just harp on for 7 minutes about how you needed to follow your dreams, and it didn't work out very well. One easy way around this is to add your own personal story around the message. Adding your own personal story to the speech is going to help you tremendously because at the end of the day, very few people have your specific story told your specific way. That in itself is original. Now, the delivery pillar is the pillar that I believe is objective versus subjective. This pillar comprises of three categories: physical delivery, voice delivery, and manner. The physical criteria is measuring your body language. Is the body language that you're displaying an accurate depiction of the words that are coming out of your mouth? Something else a judge may look for when it comes to the physical category is, are you using the stage effectively? Are you moving across the stage, or are you just standing in one spot, not really moving at all? Just keep in mind that when you are speaking, you're going to be speaking to an audience that may be sitting in different parts of a room. You need to utilize the stage so that you can talk to all of those people at some point in your speech. And something else that you want to keep in mind is the designated speaking area. Some judges definitely will mark you harshly if you tread beyond the designated speaking area. If there is a designated speaking area, stay within that designated speaking area. Now, voice delivery measures how well you are able to be heard, and it measures the variety used in your voice. You not only want to ensure that you are speaking loud enough to be heard, which if you're using a microphone shouldn't be as much of a problem for you. If you have a microphone for your contest, use it. But you also want to use tones throughout your speech that will keep the audience engaged as you are speaking. You don't want to have a monotone speech that sounds like this throughout the entire speech, because that will be very boring. At the same time, you don't want to go flying through your speech, because if you're, I can't even do it. You also don't want to be flying through your speech, because if you're flying through your speech, then nobody's going to be able to understand you, and you're just going to, You also don't want to go about flying through your speech, because if you're flying through your speech, nobody's going to be able to understand you because you're speaking way too fast. Haha, did it. Now, I'm not telling you that you need to make voices or that you need to raise your pitch extremely high and then extremely low. Use the same vocal variation that you use in your everyday life when you're talking to your friends or talking to your family. You don't have to be extreme with this category. Now, manner can be seen as a measure of your personality. How enthusiastic are you when you're talking about your topic? A great way to get high marks in this category is to basically enjoy what it is you are talking about and to enjoy the story that you are telling to the audience. If you are smiling pleasantly, how can a judge possibly mark you negatively? I mean, just look at you, you're so cute. Aww. The final pillar, the language pillar, is what I believe the most objective of all of the judging criteria, because this is going to be measuring your grammar and your effectiveness of the language. This pillar comprises of two categories: appropriateness and correctness. The appropriateness criteria is going to judge your use of words. Are you using words that can be understood? Are you using words that are correct? Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? For instance, you don't want to give a speech that's full of technical jargon in the international speech contest. If you are a rocket scientist, you are going to have to dumb down your speech just a bit so us common folk can understand. The correctness category is all about your pronunciation, your enunciation, and your grammar. How well are you using the English language? Now, if you got all A's in your English class and you have clear pronunciation, this can honestly be some of the easiest points that you can get in the judging criteria. However, keep in mind that Toastmasters can be very old school when it comes to grammar. I should know. There are certain words and certain phrases that can get you marked down negatively, even if it's a commonly used reference in everyday language. Did that speaker just say ain't instead of isn't? Negative 20 points. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. When I first started competing in the international speech contest, I did not hold the judging criteria in that high of regard. Don't get me wrong, I knew that they were there and I would read them, but I wouldn't peruse every single category trying to figure out what the judges were going to think. My main focus was building a proper speech and creating the best story and speech that I possibly could. That's something that I actually believe helped me out in the long run, because content is 50% of the judging score. You can score very high in the contest just based off of the context of your speech, the structure that you have, and the enthusiasm that you show. But with that being said, if you are a new speech competitor or a competitor who has yet to look at the judging criteria, then I strongly recommend that you do so as soon as possible. It can only help you. Now, critical point alert. As I said before, the judging criteria can be used as a guide to help you craft a speech that meets the minimum requirements of a speech contest. You should have a speech that's structured. You should make sure that you use proper voice control. You should make sure that you are showing enthusiasm as you speak. And also make sure you have good grammar and pronunciation. However, this is all during the creation and refinement period of your speech. When you get to the contest, you're no longer going to be thinking about the judging criteria. At that point, you have to trust the process that you went through and give the best speech that you possibly can. If you're up on the stage and you're worried about the judging criteria as you're giving your speech, you're going to find that you're going to be more easily distracted from a movement by a pen or a certain look by one of the people in the audience who you think is a judge but actually isn't. Again, I'm speaking from experience. Focus on your speech at the speech contest. Use the judging criteria as you are creating the speech. The final point that I'm going to make about the judging criteria is that no matter how much you break down the judging criteria, no matter how much you scour every single line trying to interpret it, the judging criteria is based on the subjective opinion of another person. Just because you or a friend gave yourself perfect marks for your speech doesn't mean that a judge is going to see it from that perspective. And it doesn't mean that they're going to give you the same score that you gave yourself. The judging will be based off of the feelings and opinions of the judges who are judging you. But at the very least, you can hopefully understand what those opinions and feelings will be based on. Today's question for the comment section: what do you think of the overall judging criteria? Are there rules in the judging criteria that you wish you understood more? Or is there a rule or judging criteria that you wish Toastmasters would add or take away? Let me know, and let's start that conversation in the comments below. And as always, if you found this even remotely valuable, do subscribe to the channel, press the notification button, and share this content with someone else who you think can use it. But that's all for today, my friends. Now it's time to read the quote of the day. Mistakes should be examined, learned from, and discarded, not dwelled upon and stored. Tim Fargo. Take care.